Well guys, it's finally time after waiting almost 2 weeks to open this up with y'all. Today is the day. We're gonna open this up and cut some metal. Coming up. Welcome back to Kevin's Trooper channel. This is the channel where we do all types of DIY projects for overlanding and off-roading. And yes, today is the day I get to open my new plasma cutter and we're gonna cut some metal. So let's see what's in this thing. So if you guys saw my last video, you remember that I went on vacation. I got this in on a Tuesday, and of course it's dark when I get off work. And I left for vacation that weekend. And then I had to wait all week because I had to work, and I wanted to open this up and video it for you guys. So I've had this thing almost 2 weeks now, and I finally get to open it and see how it's gonna work. I got my 220 plug installed last week. That should be up and ready to go. So yeah, I think we're ready to cut some metal. So let's see what's in this thing. There's some extra tips in our plug. And here it is, ladies and gentlemen. And by the way, I can say ladies and gentlemen now. I looked on my analytics and I'm now, instead of 100% male, I think we got a couple of females. So welcome to the channel, ladies. I think it's like 98% and 2% now. So that's a great thing. So check this bad boy out. So you can see on the front, it has the voltage knob and then the on and off, and that's really it. It's very simple. There's not really much to it. Here is the plasma torch, and it comes already installed with the drag tip. Now for those of you that don't know what that means that you can drag this metal, or drag this tip directly onto the metal as you're cutting. You don't have to try to hold it up. You can sit it on the metal and just drag it along. This is the first plasma cutter I've ever touched, but I've been researching these plasma cutters for months. And I've watched I don't know how many videos, and I've read I don't know how many articles and looked at this thing, so I feel like I know a little bit about it. Very nice plugs. Nice heavy duty electrical plug. And yep, that's the right 220. Now this ground connector does look a little bit thin, but I guess that's okay. I don't guess it needs to be that thick for this one. That does look like a little bit of a thin wire though. And let's see if I can cut this off without destroying my new ground clamp. I'm gonna get some side cutters. It would be just my luck I would cut into my new cable after waiting this long and not get to use it. Alright, well here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Now the torch feels very beefy. It definitely feels like a high quality torch. And you know, if you guys saw my last video, there are some $200 and $300 plasma cutters out there, and those things fail more often than not. I've seen story after story and read article after article like, yeah, they might work out of the box, and they actually might not. I read several reviews where the people got their plasma cutter in, they took it out of the box, it never worked once. And so I've always been with the buy once, cry once mentality, where spend as much as you can, get a good tool, and then take good care of it, and that way you'll have it forever. rather than buy some junk for half the price and then you're going to end up just buying it again. And so yeah, this torch feels very, very nice. Now the way that this works is that this is your electrode, and then this is, I forget what they call that. It has a name. I'm going to look all that up, but I think this drops right down in here. Yep, that's going to fit right on top of there. And that's going to drop right down in there. Now, I've heard several. And then you have this safety here on the trigger to prevent you from, accidentally plasma cutting yourself. This is, let me think about this. This is 5 times the temperature of the sun. I want to say they said 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Don't quote me on that because I don't remember exactly, but I remember thinking it's 5 times the temperature of the sun. This is plasma. Plasma is what lightning is. This is super, super hot coming out of here. And so you want to take great care, so they give you this safety switch that to make sure that you don't pull the trigger. Oh, I'm excited. I'm ready to cut some metal. Alright guys, the next thing that we have to do is we have to put our air insert into this port here. And one word of caution on this, they want you to use this thread tape, but I've heard several times if a little piece of this thread tape breaks loose and gets inside your plasma cutter, it can shut the whole thing down. So you want to make sure that you don't have any little pieces of this hanging over whenever you put this on. It can cause a real problem. It can get hung up inside your plasma cutter and you literally have to send it off to get it out. So I'm going to make sure that I do not get any of this onto the end this time. Just not like that. Just, well, I had it wrapped so good that time. It was perfect. There we go. Alright, it doesn't take much. Some people say put several. I usually just put 1 or 2, maybe 3 at the most. But you see how there's no thread tape that can come loose and get in the plasma cutter. This is so important. It's a pretty common issue. Alright, and we're just going to snug this up. By the way guys, I'm going to put a link to this plasma cutter in the description. It was a little over $1,000 for the plasma cutter. It's right at $1,100. And there are some machines that are a little more expensive. But I really feel that this is a good bridge between the really cheap ones and the real expensive ones. I studied this for over a month, so I think this is really a good medium quality, never going to break, but still reasonably affordable. I'm going to start with, I think this is probably an 1/8 inch. So we're going to start and try some 1/8 inch, and then we'll work our way up to, I believe this is, that's probably 1/4, and I think this is 1/2. So we're going to see how it does. Now, before anybody leaves me a message in the comments, I realize cutting off of a piece of wood is not the best thing to do whenever it comes to plasma, but I don't have a metal welding table. This is literally the only thing that I have. When I get my shop, I'm gonna build a metal fabrication table that's gonna be out of this world. But for now, this is literally all I have. If it catches on fire, the water hose is right there, I can put it out. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna snap our air on. And then we're gonna turn the machine on for the first time. And I guess everything's ready. All right, so I'm gonna start with the dial on about 24, see how that works. The recommended shade to cut plasma is shade 5. So you see guys doing it with nothing, that's not really that safe. You really want at least a shade 5. You can even use your welding helmet if you don't have something. All right, let's get set up here. Just making sure I haven't forgotten anything. I've got my ground, I've got my tip on, I've got the air hooked up. First time ever plasma cutting. All right. I'm gonna let that trash truck pass by. It's always something. Okay, now that the trash is empty, let's cut some metal. All right, guys, I took time while the trash truck was passing to set my system up just a little bit better. I went ahead and put this bigger piece of iron across with this clamp, and I polished where the ground lead is gonna go. And then I put my C-clamp here with my piece of metal that I'm gonna be plasma cutting. Just a little bit more secure, a little bit safer, and a little bit more likely to work good. All right, I think everything's ready to go. Make sure the camera's recording. All right, here we go, guys. Oh, wow. That didn't even know that was there. Cool. That is insane. Wow! That's crazy! That is like, that looks like that was cut with a laser. Wow! So weird feeling. You don't feel like with a oxyacetylene torch, you can kind of feel some resistance there. You know, when you're cutting, this is just like moving through nothing. It's such a weird sensation. Wow. All right. I'm gonna see how fast I can go this time. And the way that you determine this is if your sparks start coming back up at you, you're going too fast and you're not getting complete all the way through your metal. But as long as your sparks are going down, and they should be going slightly to the back, then that's a normal plasma cut. But if the sparks start to come through, that means you're going too fast. Let's see how fast we can cut this. Now this is some 1/2 inch, which is really pushing the upper limits of what this plasma cutter is supposed to be able to do. But one thing I just realized, I don't have it turned all the way up. So I'm gonna go ahead and crank it all the way up, and we're gonna see what it's gonna do with this piece of 1/2 inch. Look at this. You guys see that? Now, this bit of material that forms on the back is called dross. And that's very easily knocked off with a chipping hammer. And you don't have to grind that down or anything. You just hit that with a little chipping hammer and it comes right off. It's called dross. That piece of metal is not cool. I can certainly feel the heat coming from it. But look at how beautiful that cut is right there. Man, that's fun stuff, guys. That is fun stuff. Now I'm going to try to do a sever cut where I cut a circle out of this piece of steel. Recommend trying to do this sever cut on a piece of steel this big because, you know, it will do it, but it blows a bunch of stuff back up on your tip and it's probably not the best thing for it. I probably won't do that again, but it did cut it out for sure. Man, this is fun. I'm really glad that I have this thing. You know, I'm going to start doing a little bit more heavier duty fabrication and project type videos for the channel. I want to build some skid plates for underneath the Trooper. I want to build a rear bumper to match the front bumper. The front bumper was a kit. I'm not doing the kit. I'm getting the steel and I'm building it all from scratch. So I want to do a rear bumper and several other welding fabrication jobs. And I'd like to know, those of you that watch me regularly or are regular participants of the channel, I'd like to know what you think about that. I don't want to give you content that you don't want to see, but I really want to get into some heavier duty fabrication work. And what I haven't told y'all is I got a new welder. I've been using that little Lincoln Handy Core flux core wired welder, and it was okay for very small projects, but honestly it was way overloaded building that front bumper, and I want to start doing a lot more fabrication and welding projects. I enjoy it. It's something that I want to get really good at. And so why don't you guys leave me a comment and tell me what you think, if that's something that you want to see, because I don't want to make content that you guys don't want to see, but I really want to start doing some of those heavier duty projects. The very next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to build a welding cart. It's going to be 2 levels. The plasma cutter will be on top and the welder will be on bottom. It'll have rollers. It'll have a spot for the tank for the C25 for the welder. and that'll probably what we're doing in our next project. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and join our great group of guys and gals that we have here on the channel. And give me a thumbs up